The member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm pleased to represent Tim Hudak and the PC caucus as we commemorate the 105th anniversary of the end of the First World War. The total loss of life in the two world wars is mind-boggling. While reports vary because of insufficient information, 100 million casualties worldwide is the number often cited. These numbers are important to remember. It is necessary in order to bring into perspective what war was like. On November 11th each year, and through the remembrance period, we recall the sacrifice made by those who did not return. The First World War was known as the war to end all wars. And for those involved, the scope of the casualties, you would think, would have convinced everyone that this could never be allowed to happen again. The First World War demonstrated how much man's ability to destroy one another had progressed through advancing technology and weaponry. How wars were fought, however, had not. It demonstrated its savagery and futility at the same time. So it was waged from July of 1914 until November 11th, 1918, when the guns fell silent. Battles raged on, ground was won, gained and lost again. By today's standards, the numbers are staggering, almost unimaginable. An example of this is the Battle of the Somme. The Battle of the Somme lasted from July 1st until November 18th, 1916. 1.2 million soldiers were either killed or wounded in the fighting. Our Newfoundland Regiment lost over half their men, with 70% casualties in the first 30 minutes of the battle. The following year, Canadians fought in the historic Battle of Vimy Ridge, which lasted from April 19th to 12th, 1917. The battle was the first time all four divisions of the Canadian Expeditionary Force fought together, succeeding where repeated attempts by our French allies had failed to take the ridge. It has been said it was on those 4 days that Canada truly became a nation. Having experienced carnage like the world had never seen, convinced many that this would in fact be the war to end all wars. However, less than 21 years later, the world was back at it again, engaged in a war that had to be fought against the forces of tyranny and fascism. Once again, our brave soldiers heeded the call. I recall as a young boy Remembrance Day parades in my hometown of Barry's Bay. In those days, the parade was full of veterans. Some were from the First World War, many more, including my father, from the Second World War, and others from the Korean War. As the years went on, I recall when there were no more First World War veterans marching in the parade, and I watched as the Second World War and Korean War veterans aged and became old men. Even as they aged, when they marched in those parades, there was a pride and resolve in their faces and their steps. Every one of them have their stories and their memories, some that they would speak of, some of which they simply could not. Despite their experiences, none of them regretted signing on and indicating their willingness to give their life in order to defeat the forces of evil. They went to war as boys and came home as men. After experiencing all the horror they did, they were expected to, without skipping a beat and without a lot of support, involve themselves in society, get to work, raise families, and build our country. And Speaker, that's exactly what they did. When they came home, they continued to serve their country in so many ways. Many of them served in public life, some of them in this legislature. I think that added to the collegial attitude this place had in years gone by. people who fought side by side in something as terrible as a world war, have a different sense of perspective when it comes to seemingly petty political issues. Each and every year, there are fewer and fewer of these brave souls left among us. We must take every opportunity to thank, in our most sincere way, those who are left and assure them that long after they are gone, we will still remember. The freedoms we enjoy today, the freedom to assemble as we do here, and so many others, we owe them all to those who fought and died and to those who fought and came home. There is nothing we can do to repay those who did not return. They gave their lives that we might have ours. All we can do is ensure that their sacrifice will be remembered in the right and proper way each and every year. They fought, they died. They saw man at his worst, they saw man at his best. They fought in war, but their goal was peace. They recognized that peace could not come without a price. The greatest gift we can give them is a continuing commitment to find that peace, so that someday, if that elusive goal is reached, we can finally say unequivocally, their sacrifice was not in vain. I urge everyone in this House and across this great province of Ontario to participate in a Remembrance Day ceremony in their community. It is the least we can do, lest we forget.